Did you know Google is now indexing podcasts within search results? Today we're talking about Podcast SEO and how to get your podcast found in Google. Hey, this is Luke from the Wave team, helping podcasters like you to elevate their reach. Please take a second and subscribe below to get more podcasting tips like this in the future. Starting in 2019, Google announced that they would start showing podcasts and podcast episodes in search results. In fact, if you do a quick search for your favorite podcasts, you'll find that not only their podcast website shows up, but also a playable list of recent episodes. So to get your podcast discovered in Google, you'll want to incorporate some podcast SEO best practices. SEO is about optimizing your content to be found in search results, and it can be a source of free traffic for your show. Today, we're going to focus on getting found in Google, but you'll find that a lot of these podcast SEO tips can be applied across the board. And so, number one, you'll want to get your podcasts on Google Podcasts. As you might guess, Google's podcast results come directly from their own platform. And so if you're not already, you'll want to make sure that your podcast is being distributed to Google Podcasts. With most podcast hosting, this is automatically set up for you. But if it's not, just visit your podcast host and make sure that this option is enabled. And so, number two is to choose a main keyword or keyword phrase for your show. All types of content can be optimized for search using keyword phrases that you believe your target audience might be searching for. So you'll want to choose one main keyword or keyword phrase that encompasses your show's main topic. This is how you let Google know what your show is about. You can use Google's free keyword planning tool that's part of your Google Ads account, or check out the websites keywordtool.io or Ubersuggest. These tools can help you find the best keyword to use for your show by letting you view stats for search volume and how competitive that keyword is. The goal of establishing this main keyword is to rank in one of the top spots when someone searches for your keyword plus the word podcast. Take the keyword cooking, for example. If someone goes and searches for cooking podcasts, Google is going to recommend what they see as the best podcasts in that category, as well as podcast episodes from each of those different shows. But this is a very competitive keyword, but if your podcast is popular enough, you can certainly go for this approach. But for the majority of you, you're going to have some trouble ranking for such a broad keyword phrase. So following our example, we may want to choose a more niche keyword such as vegan cooking to actually have a chance of ranking. So what we're going to do with this keyword or keyword phrase is use it as a part of our show's title. Now, I get that you probably want to have a really original title for your show, but if it's not very descriptive of what your show is about, it's not going to help your podcast SEO. At the very least, you may opt to use your keyword in a subtitle. So with my keyword, vegan cooking, I could go with a title like The Leafy Chef, Vegan Cooking Secrets. We also want to try to incorporate your show's keyword in your episode titles as much as possible. An example of this could be your first 5 meals to make when learning vegan cooking. Using your focus keyword in your episodes just helps to reinforce to Google that they should show your podcast to those who are searching for vegan cooking. You probably won't be able to include your show's keyword in every single episode title, and that's fine, but try to incorporate it where it makes sense. Now, as it stands, it appears that the main podcast content that Google is displaying in results has to do with the show itself, and not necessarily individual episodes. Now, don't get me wrong, they are displaying podcast episodes, but currently these episodes tend to be the most recent ones from those popular podcast shows and not necessarily relevant episodes. However, keep in mind this is all still fairly new, and in the future, Google is expected to start displaying actual episodes in the same way that they now display YouTube videos in their search results. And since podcast episodes are audio-only content, it's been reported that Google also plans to use them within voice searches through Google Assistant. So with that in mind, let's talk about how you can begin to optimize your individual episodes for when they roll out these updates. Your individual episodes should each have their own focus keyword as well. This will usually encompass a more specific topic within your overall niche. And so number 5, once we've picked our keyword, we're going to include it in the episode's title. If we want to target people who are searching for the keyword phrase, make vegan pasta, our title might read something like 5 steps to make vegan pasta from scratch. We'll also want to include the keyword and any keyword synonyms in the episode description. Though having your keyword in the episode title is probably the most important SEO factor, you should also include the exact keyword phrase within your description as well. You should also think of any synonyms or alternative keyword phrases that someone might type in the search box when looking for this topic and include it in your description. Number 7, say your keyword in the episode. We already know that Google has the technology to listen to any audio content, and they already incorporate this within YouTube videos. Many SEO experts believe that they use this as a factor within YouTube SEO, and so we can expect that they'll do the same with podcast audio. So make sure you actually say your exact keyword phrase within your episode at some point. With this in mind, the time to start thinking about your SEO keyword is not after you've recorded your episode. You'll want to do the planning and research beforehand. An alternative way that you can get your podcast discovered on Google is by creating a companion blog post for each podcast episode. Google does still favor blog content in their search algorithm, and so creating a blog post from the transcription of your podcast audio and also embedding your podcast within the post is a great way to drive traffic to your podcast. Check out the website duplicate.co to convert your podcast into a blog post quickly and easily. And my last podcast SEO tip is to promote your podcast on social media. Ultimately, Google wants to connect its users with the best content, and it uses social proof as one of the ways to determine what the best content is. That means it's not as likely to rank your podcast in search if it's not already getting some engagement. But one of the best ways you can boost engagement on your podcast is to share it on social media. We recommend converting your podcast audio into short teaser videos that spark people's interest to check out your whole podcast. Wave is a tool that allows you to do this by converting it into a video and coupling it with images, animations, captions, and more. We hope that you can take these podcast SEO tips and start driving traffic to your podcast from Google. Give this video a thumbs up and comment below if you found this helpful. Until next time, keep creating.